We're living in extraordinary times where AI capabilities that seemed impossible just months ago are now reality. Every day brings new breakthroughs, new tools, and new possibilities. In this rapidly evolving landscape, understanding Gen AI isn't just an advantage, it's becoming essential for survival in the modern workforce. Whether you're a beginner wanting to get started with Gen AI or someone looking to master these technologies to stay ahead of 90% of the population, you're in the right place. This series caters to everyone, from developers wanting to harness AI's power to curious minds interested in creating practical AI applications. No matter your starting point, this series will give you the skills you need. Let me be direct. AI is already outperforming humans in many tasks, and this trend is only accelerating. The choice is simple: adapt and thrive, or risk becoming redundant. That's why I strongly encourage you to learn Gen AI, whether through this series or any other resource that works for you. We've come a long way together in this series, building 14 different real world projects using various Hugging Face open source models. From text summarizers and sentiment analyzers to multilingual translators and image generators, we've explored quite a range of applications. Each project wasn't just a tutorial, it was a portfolio ready skill that showcases your AI capabilities. If you have been following along, congratulations. You're already ahead of the curve. If you're just joining us, don't worry. You can catch up by checking out our previous videos in the playlist. Now, you might wonder why I chose to start with these smaller, open source models. There were two major reasons behind this decision. First, I wanted to give you a solid foundation, a clear understanding of how these AI models actually work. When you understand the basics, it becomes much easier to work with any model, including more advanced ones. Second, I wanted to show you that you don't always need to integrate big or paid models, such as ChatGPT or Claude, for your use cases. There are numerous free to use models available that can be effectively applied in real world applications to achieve your goals. As we've seen in our previous projects, these models are quite capable of handling tasks like summarization, translation, and even image analysis. Let's talk about what's coming next. In our upcoming projects, we'll be diving into even more exciting territory, and we'll be working with ChatGPT and Claude. But why? Because these models are currently leading the industry, and if you really want to be equipped for the Gen AI revolution, you need to understand how to work with these powerful tools effectively. These aren't just tutorials, they're your stepping stones to mastering the future of technology. To cater to all of my audience, we'll move step by step. First, I'll show you how to set up your OpenAI account and get your API key. And then we will see some basic code examples for text, image, and speech generation. Then we'll build a series of practical projects, starting with the basics. The Smart Email Assistant allows you to generate responses based on the tone you select from the dropdown. It also helps you generate subject lines and provides you with thread summaries. Interview Buddy. It's a virtual interview preparation tool that simulates job interviews based on your given job description and interview type, provides instant feedback on your responses, and helps you practice questions related to the job description. Kid Genius, an AI tutor designed for children that creates personalized learning materials, interactive quizzes, and engaging educational activities based on the child's age and learning goals. Multimode AI Assistant, a versatile AI assistant that can switch between different expert roles like writing coach, math tutor, or project manager to provide specialized guidance based on your needs. LinkedIn Job Analyzer, a tool that analyzes job descriptions and your profile to identify matching skills, suggest profile optimizations, and generate tailored cover letters to improve your job application success. Before we dive into the practical side of things, I want to emphasize that prompting is one of the most important aspects when working with these models. We'll be exploring various prompting techniques throughout these projects, but to really grasp the basics, I highly recommend checking out the video I've created on effective prompting techniques. Okay, to set up your OpenAI account, you need to go to platform.openai.com. Once you open this URL, you will be navigated to this page. On the left-hand side, you will see all the resources required for us to get started. Now, in the upcoming videos, I'll be covering most of these items, but still, I would highly recommend you to go through these resources in a free time, right? It talks about different capabilities it provides. It also talks about the assistants that it has. It has some resources related to best practices. Some resources it talks about such as prompt examples, how you need to write the better prompts, what all you need to consider while writing the prompt. So I would suggest you to go through this. Okay, so here to create your OpenAI key, you need to sign up. So to sign up, you can click here and you can sign up using different methods like Google or your email ID, Apple ID, Microsoft ID. Okay, so let me do that. So once you log in, you'll be getting the screen like this. So you need to share your name as well as birthday. So you need to let me do that. And after you click agree, you will be redirecting to this page. Okay, so here you need to provide the organization name. So in my case, it is like it's a personal. So I'll just select personal, and then you need to select best describe yourself. So I'll select somewhat technical, and I'll click on create organization. Okay, and if you want to invite your team for so that your team member can also use those APIs, then you can do that. I'll invite my team later. I'll click on this link. Okay, then you need to give your basically you need to name your API key. So I'll select my Gen AI projects, and you can also give the name of the project, right? So you can create multiple projects if you want. So let me say Gen AI Learnivers. Okay, and I'll click on generate API key. Okay, this will give me a API key. You need to copy this API key and save it somewhere, because afterward you'll not be able to access the same API key. So I'll copy it and save it somewhere safe. Okay, so I'll copy and then paste it somewhere in my notepad. Okay, and now I'll click on continue. To use the API key, you will have to add some API credits, right? And I would highly recommend you to invest this much of money. For the in the upcoming videos, I'm planning to create 10 to 15 projects using ChatGPT, right? So, and all those projects should be covered under this $5 credit. So I would highly recommend you to invest this much of money, because this is the only investment that you need to do. You do not need any kind of high-end PCs that I showed in the open source models, right? Wherein you need to have a kind of GPU to run those models, right? Everything would be at ChatGPT server or OpenAI server. You just need to, call the APIs and use the libraries that it provides, right? So, and you never know. As per me, I do believe that AI is kind of superpower for us, right? And you never know. One great idea clicks in your mind, and later point in time, you are able to build your multi-million dollar company, right? So I would suggest to invest this much of amount, and you never know what is going to happen. Maybe this $5 will change your life. And if you become a multimillionaire, and if you want to give me some gift, these are two options that you can go with. Okay. Okay. So let me jokes apart. Let me go ahead and create purchase the credits. Okay. Okay, so I have purchased $5 credit, and once you purchase, you will be again redirected to this page, and you will see some additional resources. I'll be talking about that in the later videos, but high level playground is something wherein you can try different stuff. For example, you can try different system messages, and you can give your prompt and then ask it to generate some prompt for you, better prompt for you. You can play around with different models, like you can select different models that it provides. It also give you to play around with the temperature tokens that you want to do with the top P and all these parameters, right? That is required for us to generate different kind of output based on our need or business use case, right? In the dashboard section, you can also see whatever chat that you have done, right? Whatever task that you have done. You can also see the uses, right? Whenever you call any API, it will incur some cost, right? So here you can see the cost and what all activity, contributed to that cost, right? If you want to go through the API, this is the API that you can see, right? I already have copied this API. Now it's all about to use this API in our projects, right? So this is how you can do that, and your setup is complete. Now we'll see in the upcoming projects that how we can utilize these keys, this particular key to build different kind of projects, right? So we'll be using all those models that it provides, including text generation model, chat completion model, image generation model, speech to text to speech, all those things we'll learn, right? One more thing I wanted to add is just to make sure that you do not exceed your budget, right? What you can do is you can go to uses, and here you can set your budget, right? What your limit. So if you click over here, you will see my budget. I have set my budget alert, so whenever I exceed $5, it will give me the alert monthly. And also if it crosses $10, it will my API request will be rejected. So it means the maximum amount that I can use in a month is $10. That's what I have set. Maybe in your case it would be 120 or something like that, and this also would be something else. So you need to change it to whatever you want, $5, $2, and also budget limit that you do not want to exceed this one. After this much budget, you will be getting one notification. After this much budget, it will not be exceeding this $10 budget, right? So make sure that you make this change, because what happens is if you do not do that, and somehow you keep using that API, it will exceed then $5 or $10, whatever the amount that you are putting in. So make sure that you make this change before starting using this API, and then you need to click on save button. Okay, so I am excited, and Let's move ahead with our next. Okay, so let's first open PyCharm. I'll right click and open it as administrator. And since we are working on the ChatGPT projects, so let's create a new folder and give it a name as ChatGPT projects. Now, before looking into the sample code, let's work on some of the prerequisites. Like we will have to install some of the libraries, right? We also have our API key, and we need to keep it somewhere safe because it's not a good idea to use the API key in the code. So let's start with installing some of the libraries that is required for OpenAI to work. And then we'll also see how we can store our API key securely in our code file. Okay, so to install, first I'll just click here, right click, open in terminal, and I'll enter pip install OpenAI, and I'll click on enter. Okay, so it has been installed. Now the second thing I need to install is, so basically, as I mentioned, for storing the library, for storing the secrets, you will have to, you cannot directly use it within the code file. So it's a good idea to save it somewhere else. So one of the options that we have is using the environment variables. So to do that, what I can do is, I'll right click on this root folder, and we'll create a new file, and we'll give it a name as .env. Okay, and here we can, enter our OpenAI key. So I'll just mention OpenAI API key is equal to, I need to put the API key that I already have generated using OpenAI platform, right? For now, just to test it, I'll just put it like my API key gen AI learniverse. Okay, and to load this environment variable, we'll also have to install one more package. So let's do that. And to do that, I'll enter pip install python.env, and I'll press enter. Okay, so it says that in my system it's already installed, so we are good, right? You in your case, you might get the notifications that corresponding files are being installed. Okay, so now these two are installed. Let's see how we can utilize it. So maybe what I can do is, I'll just right click and create a new Python file, and we'll give a name text generation, and I'll click enter. Okay, so let's see how we can retrieve that OpenAI key that we just have saved in the environment variable, because ultimately we'll have to retrieve that OpenAI key here and pass it to the OpenAI functions, right? So to do that, let me paste some of the code. So first I have a kind of imported OS. This is a kind of library that Python has provided to interact with the operating system related stuff, right? So in that case, we need to interact with environment variable. So that's why we will be using OS. Second, we have used load.env function. We are importing it from the .env module. And then finally, we are also importing OpenAI from OpenAI, right? And to load the variables, there's a function called load_.env, as I explained earlier, right? So that it will be kind of loading the variables from .env file. And then to retrieve the file, we will just have we'll have to just use os.getEnv, and then the name of the key that we just have placed, right? So here in our case, if you'll see, I've given OpenAI underscore API key. So that's what I have mentioned over here, right? OpenAI underscore API key. Okay, and let's try to print it to see whether it is working fine or not. Okay, so I'll just say print API key, and let's see what it gives. And I'll just click on run text.textgeneration.py, sorry, and you see this is the key that printed, and this is what I have added in my environment variable, right? So ultimately, before we start working on the project, I'll just replace it with the actual key that I have generated using platform OpenAI. But this is just to showcase you that how you can use this particular how you can save the secret variable and how you can retrieve it if required. Okay, now since we are using Streamlit also provides an option using which we can save any kind of API keys or any kind of other secrets that you want to save and do not want to expose in the code file. Okay, so to do that, what you can do is you'll just right click and create a new directory, and let's give a name as .streamlit. Okay, and inside this folder I'll create a new file, and the file type would be toml. So I'll create a file and we'll give a name as secrets.toml. Okay, now here, the same way we have done in environment variable, let me put in some of the let me add the OpenAI API key, and I'll mention Gen AI API key using Streamlit. Again, this needs to be replaced with the actual API key, but I'm just adding it here just to see that whether it is working fine or not, right? So I'll come here and I'll use import Streamlit as st, right? And I'm not using .env this time, so I'll remove these two, okay, because I'm interested in, because this time I'm accessing the secrets directly using Streamlit, right? And I'll also remove it here. And to access this secret key, I just need to use st.secrets, okay, and then I'll just mention OpenAI key, okay. So this is how you need to just mention, this is the syntax, st.secrets and then OpenAI key. Let's try to run it and see whether it is working fine or not. And as you can see, this has printed the value that we have that we added for API key, right? So it is also working fine. So it's up to you what you want to use. If you are using Streamlit, you can also use this method, or you can directly want to, if you want to use the .env method, you can also do that. So you have both the options available, right? And it's always, you also need to make sure that whenever you are kind of adding the secrets in .env variable, add it into a git ignore so that you do not check in that particular file while you deploy your code, right? To make sure you do not accidentally deploy that code in the public domain. Okay, now let's start seeing some of the sample codes, that how we can generate the text, how we can generate the images, or how we can generate the audios. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so I'll be using .env file for storing and retrieving the secrets or OpenAI key. So I'll just press Ctrl Z. Okay, so this is the code we had for retrieving the OpenAI key from .env file, right? And I'll be using that. Now let's get started with our sample code, and we'll first start with the text generation. Okay, as I mentioned, platform.openai.com is the right place for us to get started, right? It provides all the resources that we need to get started. So to start with, let's click on quick start, and it will provide you how you can, create API keys. It will also, that I already have talked about, right? How to install OpenAI, right? And it also provides the option for different language. So if you do not want to use Python, it also gives you the option that how you can utilize the same in JavaScript or curl. But since I'm using Python, so I'll click on this Python tab, sorry. So here you see the first one is text generation. So I'll just copy this code. I'll go back to my code file, and I already have replaced the actual API key that I generated from platform.openai.com and replaced it in environment variable, right? So I'll remove this print option and I'll paste the code that I just copied. Since we already have this, we already have imported OpenAI, so I'll remove this line. Okay, the only change that you'll have to do is inside this OpenAI function, you'll have to add API key is equal to the API key that we have added in our environment variable, right? And I have showed you, right, how you can extract that API key from environment variable to this page. Now, as for chat completion, or to get the response from OpenAI, this is the function that you need to use, client.chat.completion.create, right? And it is currently using GPT-4o mini, right? So to understand which model to use, we'll again go back to this page, and if I'll go to overview, it will talk about all the models, right? So as you can see, it says GPT-4o, our versatile high intelligence flagship model, ChatGPT-4o mini, our fast, affordable, small model for focused tasks. If you want to see the pricing, you can click over here and it will give you the pricing of all the models that it has, right? So for GPT-4o, it costs this much. For this one, it costs this much. So it talks about all the models and corresponding price, right? Similarly, if you want to learn more about the models, you can click on explore all, and it will give you all the models, right? If you see here, it talks about all the models. For our sample project, we'll be using ChatGPT 4o mini because this is an affordable small model, right? But later point in time, we'll also explore other models and see that how the output varies depending upon the model that you use based on the use cases. Okay. So let's go here. Now let's talk about, there are two, if you'll see messages, there are two messages you see. Role is equal to system, role is equal to user. So when we talk about the system, it's all about to give your, it's like giving an instruction to your helper before it start working on the task. So basically, if you want to give some instruction, or you want to give some role, or you want to give some rules to be followed by the model before responding to your query, then you should set it like this, right? For example, if you have a kind of mathematical question, you can mention that you are an experienced mathematician, right? Or if you want to have kind of legal question, you can say that you are a experienced lawyer, right? So that way you are kind of giving the persona to your model before it responds to your queries, right? So right now, since we are asking the general question, I'm just putting it, you are a helpful assistant. But if you want to have a specific query, then you need to put in the system message accordingly. As I mentioned, you are a kind of expert lawyer, or you are having a 10 years of experience in mathematics, something like that, right? So it's all about to give the persona to your model before it responds to your query. Again, the user role is all about whatever question that you are asking. So for example, I'm asking a question: write a poem for a 5 years old kid that explains about love. Okay, and then so we have given the system message, we have given the user message. Now the syntax for receiving the response from this model is completion.choice0 and then dot message. So let's print it and see whether it is able to give you the response or not. Okay, so I have executed this code, and let's see what response it generates. Okay, so this is the response that it generated: a love so bright in a world where flowers bloom and stars fill the room. There's a magic all around, in every smile it can be found. Love is like a warm, soft hug, a cozy blanket, or a cuddly bug. It's the laughter sharing with friend and the joy that never ends. So as you can see, this is a kind of a beautiful poem that it wrote for a 5 years old kid, right? Similarly, you can change your queries and accordingly will get the response. So this is how easy it is. I mean, if you remember, if you have seen my past videos when I was using, you know, open source model, it was little bit additional work that we had to do, right? But here it's kind of simple, and in 4 or 5 lines of code you will be able to get the response. Okay, so this is how you can generate text messages based on whatever it is. Okay, one question you might have is why we are using it here, because the same kind of response we can get directly using ChatGPT. The only additional benefit that you're directly using within the code is it gives you additional flexibility. So for example, you can add different parameters over here. One such example is temperature, to control the creativity of the model, right? Similarly, there are multiple parameters, right, that you can use. We'll learn about all those parameters, why we are using it here, what additional advantages that we are getting in the later point of video, or maybe in the upcoming videos. But for now, this is just to understand high level. There are two kind of message. System message is all about giving the persona or giving some instruction to your model based on which it should respond to your queries. Then the user message is based on whatever you want to ask to your model, and it will respond to you accordingly, right? I hope it is clear. And you'll get more clarity once we move ahead and we'll work on actual project. You will understand that how things work. But high level, it is this is the set of code that is required for generating the test or getting the response from your model, right? Okay, so now let's move to the second sample code that is related to image generation. Okay, so for image generation, again, I'll go to the same resource, that is platform.openai.com. I'll click on image generation, and there'll be one code for image generation. So let me copy this code. Okay, and for this one, let me create a new file, and I'll give it a name as image generation. Okay, and I'll paste the code over here. The only thing I need to copy is this client section, right? These items that wherein we are extracting the extracting the code, extracting the API key from environment variable, right? So for that, I also have to import these two, and then I'll also have to copy all these codes, right? That is to load the environment variable and then to get the key. And that's it. Now inside the OpenAI, I'll just pass API key is equal to API key. And as you can see, it says that client.image.generate, dalit e3. It's kind of 1020 cross 1020. Quality is standard. So there are two qualities. One is standard and second one is high definition. So you can use based on whatever you want to use, right? So right now I'm using a standard because that will cost me less amount. So and is number of images that you want to generate, so I'll keep it one, and maybe I'll just a cat playing in a garden, Pixar 3D style. Okay, and let's try to run it and see whether it's working fine or not. So I'll run it, and it might take some time. Okay, so it gave me the URL because this is how I asked, right? Response.data0.url. So this is the URL that it gave, and let's see what kind of image it generate, and this is it, right? It generated an image. So it looks a little weird, but again, changing the prompt will give you the better image, right? So that way, that's how you can easily generate your image, right? Using this 5-6 line of code, right? You can change the size, right? using this parameter. Based on the kind of image you want to change, you can change the quality, you can change the number of images you want. If you want to generate more than one image, you can change the number and it will generate that many images, right? So this is how it is for image generation. Now let's move to the audio, text to speech maybe. Okay, so we'll see how you can use text to speech models and how you can convert your text into speech. Okay, so for text to speech, we will again go to the same resource and we'll try to find out text to speech. Okay, so this is the text to speech, and as you can see, there are multiple voices we have, right? And
The sun rises in
the hiker's path. Wow. So you can use any of these voices for text to speech, right? So to see it in action, let's copy the code and I'll go to my code file and create a new file with the name text to speech. Okay, and I'll paste the code over here. We also need to copy everything that we had till here, right? So I'll copy everything here as well. So I'll go to text to speech and from here I'll copy everything. Since this line is not required, we already have this line where we added API key, so I'll remove this one. Similarly, this is duplicate, so I'll remove this one. And if you'll see, they have also included one path lib, right, from path. So this line they have added, and the reason behind it, because they have used this path, right? Underscore file is a special kind of variable in Python that basically gives the current path. So basically here it will give the path till text to speech.py, and once we go to .parent, it will give the path till ChatGPT project. So whenever search file path is equal to the path um, till this ChatGPT projects, right? So search file path is here. Then we have client.audio.speech.create. This is the model that we are using, and voice. In this case, we are using the voice of Eloy, right? If you remember, I already have explained the multiple voices, so we are using this voice. Okay, and then we will have to provide the input, the text that we want to convert into a speech. So let me change something. Welcome to Gen AI Learniverse. And then today is a wonderful day to build something people love. Okay, and then let's try to run it. Okay, so now as you can see, we are getting one error. Okay, so this is a kind of error in OpenAI library, and because of which it is not working. To suppress this error or to ignore this error, let me add one import warnings. Okay, and here I'll just kind of filter this warning so it doesn't stop the process to move further. So to do that, I will add these two lines here. I'm just filtering the warning, right? So if this is kind of duplicate warning, then we can ignore it. This code will ignore it. Now let's try to run it again. Okay, so our code has been executed successfully, and if you will see here, speech.mp3 file has been generated. So we have given welcome to GenAI Learniverse. Today is a wonderful day to build something people love. So let's try to see what kind of a speech it generated. So I'll just open in Explorer and let's open this file.
Welcome to Gen AI Learniverse. Today is a wonderful day to build something people love.
And I love this voice. Okay, so this is how you can generate audio from your text. So just to give a quick snapshot, all the code was there. Path lib is something to fetch the path where this file needs to be saved. If you do not want to use it, you can directly use some hard-coded path if you have. Then these all I already have explained. Along with that, since we are getting one error or warning, deprecation warning, that because of which our code was not working, that's why I have imported warning. Then we have filtered the warning, so I'm just ignoring that any kind of deprecation warning, so our code can move further even there is a warning. And then this code I already have explained. This is for fetching the path where this file needs to be saved. And then .speech.mp3, then this is the response, right? And this is the text. You can change the text, and ultimately it will generate the mp3 file, whatever name you have given at the location of this particular file path location. Okay, now let's see how we can convert speech to text. Okay, so for speech to text, let's again go to our resource and then try to find speech to text. Okay, and here this is the code that is given over here, right? So what I'll do is I'll just copy complete code. Okay, and I'll paste, maybe I'll just create a new file, and this would be speech to text. Okay, and I'll paste the code over here. Again, for fetching the key, I'll have to copy all the code that we had. Okay, so I'll just copy till here. Everything is required to fetch the API key. It was speech to text, I believe. Yeah. So I'll just replace it. Then it is asking for a path to file audio.mp3, right? So I just have created one audio file. So let's hear that. So this is my voice. Hi Gen AI enthusiasts, if you like this video, please consider subscribing this channel. So this is my voice and I want to convert this to text. So to do that, I already have explained how to copy the path. I'll right click, sorry, this one, right click and copy path reference and path from content root, right? So I'll just paste this complete path over here, right? And then RB is read binary, okay? And then what we have called is client. Then we are using client.audio.transcription.create. The model that we are passing is whisper1, and then the file that we are passing is audio file. So we have given the same, and then the transcription that is being generated, we are just printing transcription.text. So let's try to run this code and see whether it is giving me the text for the audio we just heard, right? Okay, it says the path does not exist because it didn't copy the complete path, right? So let me copy that. I'll right click, copy path reference, absolute path. Okay, so I'll paste it over here, right? And then let's try to run it again. I'll have to give double. Okay, so here you can see the text, right? Hi Jenny enthusiast, if you like this video, please consider subscribing this channel, right? So this is what I had in this audio, correct? So this is how you can also generate kind of text from your speech. Okay, so we have covered 4 items so far. One is text generation, image generation, text to speech, speech to text. Now let's start working on the actual project, and we'll keep exploring some of the additional, functionality or capabilities that OpenAI provides, like embedding. So it also provides a kind of embedding, correct? Moderation, how we can have, moderate the response that it is while we are passing the response or when we are getting the output, how we can have the moderation. We can have some checks, right? So all these things we'll be looking in our upcoming videos. But for now, these are kind of high level things that was required for you to understand how things work so that we can start implementing some of the real world project using these options, right? So let's get started. Okay, so we will start with a simple project and we call it as a smart email assistant, and this would be our 15 project of this series, right? So what functionality it provides, I have given an option so that you can enter the OpenAI key over here, right? But as I have mentioned earlier, you can also save this key in environment variable and can use it the way I have shown in my previous sample code, right? And this project provides you multiple options. So it generates the response for your email, whatever you provide in the input. It also gives you an option to select multiple tones. Like example, you can select professional, casual, friendly, formal, or if you want to add any additional tone, you can also do that. It also provides you an option to add context. So if you want to highlight any specific point, if you want the response to include any specific points or context to be added, then you can add it over here. This is kind of optional input field. And then basis the response, whatever email that you provide, tone you select, and additional context you provide, it will generate the subject. It will give you the response as well. It will also summarize your email, right? So let's try it. Let me add some sample email in the input field. And as it's mentioned, you can add a complete thread. So the way it happens, like if there are multiple email threads you have, you can paste complete thread so that the response we will get includes all the context that or all the communication that happened previously. So let me paste one sample email. Okay, so this is the email that I have pasted. So this is the first email when this person has just want to let you know that the latest project study report has been uploaded to shared drive. Then this person replied that I have been reviewing the current timeline for the mobile app development project. I'm a bit concerned about our progress, right? And I have so this is the mail that it has. And then I selected the tone professional. I will keep it blank and I'll click on generate response. And then if you'll see here, you will get the subject line. What should be the subject line? It will give you the complete response, right? And it will also summarize that for you, right? And here's an option wherein you can copy the particular text if you want. Okay, so let's start working on this project. This is a kind of interesting project. You can utilize actually this project in your day-to-day life, right? Whatever, if you're getting response, you don't want to invest time responding to that email, you can just use this tool. And before sending, you just read it through to make sure that everything is covered and send it. So it will save a lot of. So let's get started. Okay, let's start with creating a new Python file, and I'll give it a name as Smart Email Assistant. Okay, and inside this file I'll be importing some of the libraries. So first one, I'll be importing OpenAI, so I'll copy and paste. And second thing, I'll be using Streamlit, so I'll use import Streamlit as st. So if you do not know about Streamlit is a kind of Python open source library that makes it easy to create different web applications. I already have explained about Streamlit, how you can create different controls such as text bars, drop down using Streamlit in my previous videos of this series. So if you haven't watched those videos, I would suggest to go through that. Or if you just want to understand Streamlit, you can also go through their official website. They have provided a very easy to understand resources. You can go through that. However, in this project also, as we move ahead, you will understand how it works. Okay, so let me define a function, main function. Okay, and here I'll start adding the Streamlit control. Okay, so I'll first add st.set page configuration, and then I'll give page title is equal to Smart Email Assistant, and I'll also add layout is equal to I'll keep it wide. Okay, then let's add the title. So I'll add st.markdown. Since I want to have the title and everything in bold, so that's why I'm using markdown rather than having just the title. And I'll use h2. H2 will make the title bold and also will increase the font size. Okay, so I'll add Gen AI Learniverse Project 15 Smart Email Assistant. Okay, and we will have to add one more tag since we are using HTML, so we will have to make it true. Then we will add the subtitle. Again, I'll use markdown and we'll add generate professional email response with different tones. Okay, let's try to run this code and see how it looks. So before to run this code, first I'll have to make it like if underscore name is equal to underscore main, then we need to call main function. Okay, so basically underscore name is nothing but a kind of Python variable that always, if you try to run directly to this code file, then it will always return underscore main. So ultimately this function will be called. Okay, and to run Streamlit, as I have explained earlier as well, what I'll have to do is there's a command and we'll have to use that command, and the command is Streamlit run and then file name. So I'll just mention the Smart Email Assistant and press enter. So as you can see, our title is here and also it's bold and font is large, and then there is another subtitle is here, right? So seems like it works fine. So let's move ahead. Okay, it is taking a lot of time to type the code. So what I have done is I have written the code in different code file, and what I'll do is I'll just copy paste each section and explain it separately. Okay, so that way the video will not be too long. Okay, so let's first start with our left section, when user will have option to provide their API key, and I'm doing that so that I can also upload it to Hugging Face, and it doesn't require you to make any change. You can directly use that. So you can directly provide that OpenAI key directly on the UI, and then it will be applied for the project. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so what I have done is I have added st.subheader. I have named it as settings, right? And then API key, I'll have an option to provide the API key, that is st.textInput, and I have given enter open API key. Type, I have given password, so it is not visible to the users. And then I have given a help section that from where they can, from where you can generate the API key, right? Here I also have mentioned if API key is equal to, if API key has been provided, then what I am doing is session state, right? Dot OpenAI key is equal to API key. So what I'm doing is in session, in Streamlit session, I'm setting this API key so that even for multiple, queries or multiple emails you are getting, if you want to get the response, the API key remains same in the session for that particular login, right? So you do not always need to provide the API key. That's why I've kept it in the session. Okay. And then I'm showing the message as API key set successfully, right? One thing that you can also do before starting that. So what I can do over here is I'll just mention that if OpenAI key not in session, then just set this OpenAI key as none. Okay. So here, if it is not there in the session state, then I'll just making OpenAI key as none. If it is in session state, from here I'm setting it in the OpenAI session state. Okay. So afterward, what I have done is I am adding the markdown just for showing the text, and I have given what all functionality this tool provides. So auto generate response, multiple tone options, subject suggestions, and thread summarization. As I mentioned, it's always a good idea to once you write the code, you should run it to see whether it's working fine or not. So I'll enter Streamlit, run, and then Smart Email Assistant, and I'll press enter. This should open the website, and as you can see, we have OpenAI option over here. In the question mark, it is providing the help option that we gave, right? If you remember, we have the option for help, right? And this is what it is appearing over here, right? And then all the features that we mentioned is currently appearing over here. So it looks fine. Let's move ahead. Now let's try to add the main section. And for to do that, what I'll do is I'll just paste the code for the main section. I'll explain it. So here what I have done is I have created a with column one. So basically what I'm doing is we have one left section for settings, then we'll have one section for providing all those email and everything, whatever email you want to be processed by ChatGPT and provided the response, and then third column would have the response generated by ChatGPT. Okay, so with column one, what I have mentioned is I have added the subheader input. Then I am adding a text area when user can provide the thread. So I have added st.text area, and I have entered the kind of placeholder text that entered the email thread, and most recent email should be at height I've kept 200, and placeholder is like example I have given one email that a user can refer, right? Tone selection, there is another option I talked about, right? User would have option to select the tone, in which tone he want to get the response, whether it would be professional, casual, friendly, formal, which tone they want. So you can select that from the drop down, that is st.select box, and then whatever tone you have selected, it will be saved in selected tone a variable, right? Then additional context. This also provides an option wherein you can provide the additional context. So based on the email, based on which basis do you have additional context that you want to include in the response, you can also provide it over here. So again, it is a text area, then we have a placeholder text, right? I have given need to highlight the positive growth trend in Q3. And then finally, we have a st.button generate response. So what I'm saying is, if there is a kind of not email thread, if somebody has not provided anything over here, if you'll see, this is the email thread, right? If they have not provided anything in this section, then it will give the error message, please enter email thread. Similarly, if OpenAI key is not set, so session state doesn't have OpenAI key, that we set it over here, right? If here, right? So if it is not, if user has not set it, then it will give the error to set the OpenAI key. And then as soon as the generate button is being clicked, I'm creating a prompt. Okay, so what will be the prompt? So right now in prompt, I'm not providing anything, but I'm saying email thread is email thread, additional context is this, and generate a whatever tone I want to have it, right? So it says email thread additional content generate a professional tone response. For example, if user is selected professional, right? And then I'll be talking about this function. This is the function that basically does everything. So in this function, I'm passing OpenAI key, prompt, right? And selected tone, whatever tone I want that LLM to respond, right? And then if there is any error, I'm showing the error. If there is no error and we are getting the response in the session only, we are setting this current response. Why we are setting it up in session? Because next time also we want to show the same response in the bottom, right? So that's why we do not want to lose the response. That's why we are keeping in the session state. Okay, and then once done, I can then it will give you the message that a response generated successfully. Okay, let's try to see whether it is working fine or not. So I'll go back to my page and I'll refresh it. Okay, seems like it doesn't generate, it is not generating it properly, and it happened because I have, I should have it. Right now it is inside setting, so I just have moved it outside setting. You see, right now. So right now it was starting with call, was starting from here, from this column. So I just have moved it to left. Now again, let's refresh it. And from me see, is still within, oh, is still within that. Okay. Okay, so I think main content, the column that I defined is inside the setting section, right? Inside the sidebar section. That's why I have just moved it left. So now it is outside that section. So let's try again. And I will again refresh it. And you can see now we have left side, we have setting. The right side, we have input, wherein whatever example email that we give, it's appearing over here. Tone option is there, right? All the tone you can set, and if you want to have any additional context you can give. And if you click on create response, it will give please enter an email thread, right? So it seems like it is working perfectly fine. The thing now we will have to do is we will have to write this function, because all the magic happens here, right, in this function. So let me create a function and let me explain you how it works. And just again I'll reiterate, it is, I'm passing it OpenAI key prompt, this prompt that we created over here, and then tone that the user has selected from the drop. Okay. Okay, so for adding the function, I'll go up, and just before main I'll be adding this function. Okay, and as you can see, this function contains API key, prompt, and tone. This also have one additional parameter, that is model, so you can change based on whatever model you want to use. I'm okay with ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo, so I'll go with that. And then if not API key, if API key is not provided, then it will be returning here, right? If API key is blank, it will return that, it will give the error that please enter the OpenAI key. Here I already have explained how to use it, this OpenAI key. So client is equal to OpenAI. Then in the generate response, I talked about two messages, system message and user message, right? So in the system message, I mentioned you are a professional email assistant, generate a tone, whatever tone we have given, tone response, right? So professional tone response or friendly tone response. And then in the user, I have provided the prompt, whatever prompt that we got from here. You remember, here is the prompt that we used to create, right? Email thread is this, additional context is this, and generate a professional tone email. Okay. This is about response message, right? Then in the response message we are passing over here, and inside this we have kept temperature 0.7. If you want to have more creative or emails, right, then you can change this value. However, so if you increase this value, it will be more creative. If you reduce this value, most of the time you'll be getting similar kind of messages, right? But if you increase it, the chances of hallucination will increase. So it's always a good idea. So if you're kind of email or everything, it should not keep increase it more than 0.6, 0.7, right? Then email it here, I'll be getting email response. So now what I'll be creating the subject line, right? As I mentioned, this tool will also generate a subject line based on the email you sent, you provide. So for that, again, I've created two roles. Role is called system, where I'm passing the system message that create a concise and appropriate subject line for this email. And in the user message email content, I'm passing the same email response that this model generated, right? So you can understand how these are interrelated, right? So basis whatever generated the response it generated, I'm passing that to another message to generate the subject line corresponding to that email. Okay. And then the third thing is I'm asking to summarize the message. So there is another functionality that this tool provides to summarize the message. So to do that, I'm passing a system message that provide a concise summary of the email thread, right? And the user message, I'm asking that original thread, whatever email you provide, right? It will include over here. And then the response would be in the email response part. We are also passing it so that it can summarize based on whatever was previously discussed and whatever we are discussing right now. Now, we are passing this information back to that model, right, to display it. So I have passed like email response, subject line, thread summary. So in the response, email response will be passed, subject line will pass, thread summary will pass. Thread summary will have the summary of whole email message, right? And if exception comes, we are giving the error and we are sending none as a response. Okay. So now whenever this function will be called, we will have everything available in the result section. And then in the session variable, we already have save result. So what this result contains is this result contains everything. This result contains where is that? Email response, subject line, thread summary. Okay, so now let's move to the next step, that how we can utilize this response. So now let me go back and see. We'll have to have the column. So I'll paste column 2. So it should be in parallel with column 1, wherever column we had, right? So it needs to go one. We'll have to make it left so that it is in parallel with column, right? And it is outside this st.dot sidebar section, right? That's why we have kept in parallel with this one, right? And what we have done over here, so we have set header the generated content if current response. So current response in session state, the same thing that we saved here, right? Current response. Then we are setting it is inside the content. In the content variable, we'll have everything. Now in the st.markdown, what we are saying that st.code content, whatever content we have got in the content, if you remember, we had three items, right? Subject, response, and summary, and all those values we are putting it in different places, right? So inside this subject line, we are putting subject. Inside this email response, we are putting response. Inside the third summary, we are putting what I call it, summary. And inside tone, we are passing whatever the tone we selected, right? Now you might have asked what we are using. St.code. St.code basically allows you to copy whatever is there inside that section. So that's why we are using code. Now let's try to run it again and see if it is working fine or we are facing any issue. So okay, so right now there will not be anything. So let me copy the OpenAI key and let me pass a simple email to test whether our application is okay. So let me pass this OpenAI key over here and I'll press enter and say API key set successfully, right? And what I can do is, just for the sake of this demo, what I can do is I can just copy the placeholder email that we kept over here. So this is the email we have. Let me pass this information over here. And it's simple email. Hi team, can we schedule a meeting to discuss the quarterly report? I'll select this as maybe friendly and I'll click on generate response. Let's see how it works. And as you can see, my response has been generated. I have a subject line that is discussion on quarterly report meeting schedule. Then we have the email response. Absolutely, I'd be happy to help schedule a meeting, and all the response is created. And then we have a thread summary, whatever John requested a meeting to discuss the quarterly report due to interesting trend he has noticed. So it also summarized the email. I just have kept a simple email, but if you have a long email where multiple to and fro happen, if you pass this message, then definitely this tool is going to help, and you can use this tool for your day-to-day day activities for responding to emails, right? So so seems like everything is working fine. Now let me go ahead and deploy this change on Hugging Face. Okay, to deploy the change on Hugging Face, I'll go to huggingface.co. Then I'll click on my profile icon that will show all the spaces that I've created so far. Then for creating the new space, I'll go and click on new space, and I'll give it a name as Smart Email Assistant. Okay. Short description, I'll just say project 15. License, I'll change it as Apache 2.0. This is being used for Streamlit. So I'll click Streamlit, I'll click public, and then I'll create a space. Okay. Now, as I have explained multiple times in my previous projects, so I'll have to create a file. So first I'll create a new file. I'll give a name and requirements.txt. So requirements.txt, sorry. And then I'll just have put in OpenAI, right? So if you remember, I only have used OpenAI, right? So that's why I am just putting in OpenAI over here. And then I'll click on commit new file to main, right? Similarly, I'll create another file and I'll give it a name as app.py, and I'll copy paste all my code that I have written over here, okay? And I'll go here, I'll paste the code, correct? And then I'll commit new file to main, okay? So my code and requirements file where we need to provide all the package name as well as the main file has been created. I'll click on app and it will take some time to compile, and ideally we should have our application up and running if in case we do not face any if in case compilation is successful. If in case we get any error, we'll try to see how to fix that. So let's wait for this to happen. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, my application is up and running. Everything looks fine. I'll put the OpenAI key. I'll press enter, and it says API key is successful. Let me try some sample email I made. I want to discuss about the new project we talked about in the past. Could you please confirm if there is any additional details you need from my end to get it started? Okay, and I'll say thanks, John, and I'll make it professional in the additional context. Maybe I'll add talk about if $500 is fine for the project. And I'll click on generate response. Let's see whether it's working fine or not. So it is okay, perfect. A request for additional details and budget discussion, and it has drafted the mail for me, right? And I'm quite sure it must have talked about that $500 as well. So as you can see, it says that regarding the budget, I would like to discuss the proposed 500 amount further to ensure it aligns with the project requirement expectations. So as you can see, it's perfect. And now third summary is also generated, and then tone is professional. So it's working absolutely fine, right? So you can try and test it and let me know how it works for you. So we are, as I mentioned, we are going to build a lot of project using ChatGPT. And so let's see you in the next video. Thank you.